Holly here at Faces, and today I am with the lovely Darryl-Robert from Darryl-Robert Aesthetic Academy and Laser Clinic. So Darryl, thank you so much for sitting down with me and having a chat with me today. It's really good to have you on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's just start off with talking a little bit about yourself and your business then. So how did it all start? How did you get into this industry, and how did you get your business to where it is today?
So basically, I have been in the industry for about 4 years now. Prior to that, so I left school, went to university. I'd done a master's degree in health science.
Okay.
Then left that and come out of that, and then for the past 13 years, I've managed nursing homes.
Oh,
which,
wow, okay.
which has been challenging, including through COVID. So I actually only left my full-time role in January of this year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I took it all the way through COVID, and as you can imagine, that was quite something.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
my business has been running for 4 years. The reason I went into the industry was firstly because I absolutely love how inventive it is, how it makes you feel, and actually I love all the treatments myself. So looking back on a photograph of me 4 or 5 years ago compared to what I look like now is completely different. Yeah, and I just think actually you can do it naturally. I just loved the industry, how artistic and inventive it is.
Yeah,
And
do you know what?
also,
That's a nice word to describe it. I've never heard anyone use that, but it's so true. You know, you can do it your way. You know, it is an art
absolutely.
as well, and yeah, like everybody has their own skill set. Whilst treatments are generally the same, every practitioner does things slightly differently. So that's a really nice way to describe it.
The other reason, so my actual business is, it's for instance, my costing, there's not that much profit made in my business. And the reason I done this was firstly to make it affordable to everybody. It can be a costly expense. I was spending hundreds, maybe thousands previous to coming into the industry.
We've all been there. We've all been there. That's the thing. Three treatments, £1,000 you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been able to run a business that's not making a massive profit because I've always had a full-time job. So my business has always been running alongside me going to work in a nursing home. And then I reduced my days, and then just over a year ago, I actually adopted a little boy. So I went on adoption leave, and then my business has always been busy. So prior to going on adoption leave, I was always working 70 hours a week. That's just me as a person. Yeah. But it's just grew and grew and grew. So I had to make a decision, I either do one or the other. And obviously, yeah, I chose aesthetics. And obviously earlier on this year, I won the National Hair and Beauty Award. Amazing. Which actually really boosted my business. It's amazing. I'm not going to sell them, but yeah, it's credible for my business. Yeah. About a year ago, I was contacted by another practitioner who had gone on a training course, and then she didn't feel like she had the right skill set. She didn't feel confident. So she reached out to me and said, could you help? So I was like, well, I can, but I don't really have any formal training for training. Yeah. So I then done a bit of research. I went on to do my AET, some training, became a training provider. So although I am an academy on my business title, I don't train as I don't do start from scratch. I don't do advanced fillers. I don't do anything like that. I basically do one-to-one to assist people to feel confident. Yeah. And the charge is very little.
That's so needed as well, because the amount of people who train, particularly when they're doing one of these crazy 2-day courses, how on earth are you meant to be a fully fledged, confident practitioner after doing 2 days of training? It doesn't make sense. So I think that's an incredible thing that you offer to practitioners, because it's so needed. And at least you can push students through, and they at least have the knowledge and potentially some experience, and then it's just a case of building the confidence and giving them some models to inject. Is that kind of what you do?
Yeah, basically. I'm not interested in full-on academy. I'm going to start offering some courses, but more around so I train first aid, health and safety. So obviously I've been regulated by the Care Quality Commission for the last 13 years, so I have a knowledge of that. Regulations, obviously regulations, I know we're going to talk about them, but all things like that. So I think because my skill set is a little bit different, so I've managed big health organisations. So I understand regulation, I understand what's needed, and I understand how to ensure that they continue. So obviously I've been inspected for the past 13 years. So I kind of have an insight to what regulation could look like. Obviously no one knows at the moment what it could look like, but for me, it's all around documentation, policies, procedures, competencies, and basically just ensuring you're being safe. So that's kind of where my training academy comes in, more so than banging out 10 people a day. And and I do actually work with alongside another practitioner, and she has an academy as well. So I do some training days for her. But again, she's not banging people out like left, right, and centre. That sounds really wrong, doesn't it?
No, no, I know. It's like a conveyor belt, isn't it, with some academies?
Yeah, and she doesn't do that. So actually, she reached out to me, and I work alongside her now and again. That doesn't interest me. I'm more about how to put the underpinning into a business, more so than how to make as much money as you can. Because for me, values, underpinning, and stability is really important. And all of my clients will say, like, when they come here, they understand what they're coming for. Like, I would never get somebody in, do a consultation, and do the procedure straight away. People need time to think about it. They go away, they come back, and I'm here for them. Like, that's just me as a person. I think that's how my business is successful. That is how my business is successful, just by being a really honest, open person. Things can go wrong. I explain that things can go wrong. I explain that, you might not look like this photo you're showing me, because everybody's anatomy is different. Everybody takes the product completely different. So I think that's how I've been really honest. I said, this could be a journey. It's not going to happen today. And I think that's how my business has grown.
100%. I love everything that you've just said, because it's so true. I think a lot of people come into this industry, first of all, they may have had horrific training, and I think a lot of the issues around why regulation is coming into play is because there is really bad training academies out there who just don't offer the right training, so the practitioners aren't as confident. But then it's also people coming in and all they want is the money. And I understand, it's a very lucrative industry. You can make a lot of money, and that's normally why a lot of people do come into this industry. But if that's all you care about, you are not going to be successful. And the thing is, you mentioned about how your business doesn't make that much money at the moment, but that will come because of the way you've structured it, and you're building it, and you're developing those relationships, you're building the trust with your clients. It will come. And I think it's super important to always put the client first, like you do. Absolutely. And a lot of people don't.
Now, for me, so I obviously generate reports as well. So I have around about 2,000 returning customers.
Wow.
So that's a
lot of customers. Yeah. It really is.
If you think some of them only come annually, some of them are like quarterly. So it's not like every day, but those customers have returned. So when I do the reports, those customers have returned to me more than 3 times. So like looking at my business brand behind the scenes, like I do a lot of that and analyze what I could do better and all those things. So that's just me as a person. That's what I've worked as previously, if you know what I mean. But I'm not interested in opening a massive academy and doing all those things. That doesn't interest me. What interests me is people's stability, like that. And the other thing about my business is I market at a completely different audience. So I've targeted so my business model clientele are ladies between 40 and 60. That's kind of where so it's a completely different business. Like, so obviously I work with my friend now and again, and her business is targeted at a younger population. So I've gone into things like skin boosting. I do a lot of PGO threading, which I know is like a big talk at the moment in regulations.
It's a big red flag at the moment.
It is, I do a lot of that.
Do you feel like that's come organically, or do you feel like with your background in care, it's sort of been something that you've been a bit more drawn to, with the sort of, I'm not saying someone who's 40 is old, by the way, but the older.
Middle age, and absolutely, it is because of my background. So obviously, I've been nursing like 80 plus, but I think, and the other thing is, I think that a lot of the time we get a lot of young, I'm not saying I don't do younger, but a lot of the time, like, they just want to look like something or someone else.
Yeah.
Whereas a lady that comes that's 50, so I'll give you an example. I have a lady that comes to me and she used to be a page 3 glamour model back in the day.
Wow.
And actually she's reached like 50 and she's starting to lose collagen. She's starting to feel like really bad about herself because of what when she says, when I look in the mirror, what I used to see to what I see now is completely different. And actually that affects my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's the clients that I like and I want to assist and I want to treat, because you're going to get a result. It's not going to be a life-changing result because at the end of the day, it's aesthetics, not surgery. Yeah. But it's helping people's mental health as well as just giving them a boost. So yeah, she returns to me all the time. And actually the result from when I started seeing her 3 years ago to now is completely different. And actually her mindset is very different. She's very positive now. Like, she looks in the mirror and says, actually, I've started to love myself again. So for me, that's the exact clientele that I like and I want to treat, because the results that they're getting, they're very, very grateful for. And actually we're working as a journey. They understand they're not going to look 21 tomorrow. Yeah. So that's where I have that's where my business is, basically.
Yeah, I think you're so right in that it is very much a journey. You know, there's no one size fits all with this industry, and I think with how social media portrays aesthetics and people in general, you know, particularly a younger demographic, they literally will find a picture of somebody online and say, okay, I want to look like that, and that won't happen. You're not that person. And I think
I get that all the time, though. Honestly, I had a female come in a couple of weeks ago, and she showed me a photo of a package that I had done, and she wanted to look like that. And I was like, but her anatomy is very different. Like, at the end of the day, as practitioners, we can be very inventive, clever, but sometimes people need to remember their hands, not what one's like.
yeah, you're like, I'm not a magician, but okay.
No, absolutely.
But I think it's a shame that it is like that, you know, with regards to beauty standards, and that's a whole different topic, which we could have a separate conversation about. But I think also as a practitioner, it's so important to really understand your market like you have, because I think a lot of practitioners train and they're trying to offer every single treatment under the sun. They don't really know who they're marketing to. You know, it's like, you know, I spoke to someone recently. We were talking about like male contouring packages, because I think that's something that a lot of practitioners should start to introduce, because men are starting to have more of an interest in aesthetics, which rightly so, I think is a great thing. But all her Instagram was like pink and lips and like, I'm like, but a man, let's say he's never had an aesthetic treatment, he's not going to go onto your page and be like, oh, I'm going to book him with this clinic necessarily. So I think it's so important to really understand who you're targeting to and offer treatments based on that demographic as well, like you do with your skin boosters, PDO threads. And I think a lot of practitioners just feel really lost with it.
I think that the male things, I actually done a post the other day, like a live, because the male things are really interesting topics. I have quite a lot of male clients. 99% of my male clients, the first thing they'll say when they walk in the door is, please don't post anything on your social media. So there's a massive stigma there still, like around male mental health, or what they might look like to other people. Like, the industry itself has a lot of male clients. It's definitely building males. Like, I love the fact that males start looking after themselves. I have lots of men through the door.
Yeah, but I think it's their lack of, not, I'm speaking generally, by the way, it's the lack of knowledge when it comes to male contouring and male treatments, and you know what can be done with dermal filler and anti-wrinkle injections particularly. Because, for example, my partner, you mentioned Botox and fillers, the first thing that comes into his head is like Pete Burns with like massive lips. Like he doesn't know the difference between Botox and filler. It's just aesthetics in general. You think of, you know, just overfilled, like exactly. And it's just the lack of knowledge there. But I think it's so great that there's practitioners like yourself out there who are really focusing on the natural result, who are actually, you know, giving men confidence to come and get these treatments. Because, you know, I think if you can get an injection to soften your wrinkles and make you look a bit brighter, like everyone should have access to that. So it's just going to make you age more gracefully. And it's about really highlighting your features and getting little small amounts of filler, highlight your features, and
yeah.
do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think aesthetics, when men think about it, it's like feminine, hence why they might not want their pictures posting and things like that. But do you find that when men come in, they sort of feel a bit more relaxed about the whole idea of getting treatments once they sort of leave?
Absolutely. And I quite often show, so my male audience, so I have a lady that comes, she's like a heavyweight champion.
Wow.
She's like really muscly lady. But anyway, so she goes to the gym and she trains and she does tournaments and everything like that. But she refers me to quite a lot of the male population of the gym. So a lot of the men that I get through the door are like bodybuilders, heavyweights, lovely guys. Yeah, no, they're my target audience. So I quite often will show them, like, actually, this is what I looked like 5 years ago, and this is what I look like now. I think you can tell I've had treatments, but I don't think I look overdone.
No, not at all.
I still think I look quite natural. So I'm like, you don't have to look like, I hate to say it, but Pete Burns. Like, you're not going to walk out here looking like that. People that have that look have had treatments for a long time. They've had a lot of them. I feel like you can become. I'll be honest. I've become obsessed with it myself a few years ago and had to restart. But yeah, that does happen. But for a couple of tweakments, it's not going to happen. They're going to look fresh. They're going to look good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think going back to that, I think it's a really positive thing that men are sort of exploring it a bit more, feeling like actually it's not just lip filler, it's so much more than that. Even skin boosters, they're fantastic for brightening the skin, making you look a lot more rejuvenated, whether you're male or female. It's something that will benefit everybody potentially. So
yeah, and I think the other thing is it's really good. There's a lot more males coming into the industry.
Yes.
So even 4 years ago, when I was, I've done so many training courses. I couldn't even tell you how many. But to be fair, I've only ever on one. I've been on probably about 100 different training courses, and I think on only one of them I've had a male with me. Generally, it's a very female dominant industry. So actually, it's nice that men are coming in now.
Yeah.
To be practitioners, and then it's just that gives another insight, then, doesn't it? Yes,
exactly.
It's nice.
Yeah, because I think a lot of men would much prefer to go to a male practitioner, wouldn't they? They feel potentially more comfortable, and I think it totally makes sense. But I think it's a great thing that it is growing. So moving on to the Faces app then, Darryl. So I know that you've used Faces for a long time, which is great. You're very much a loyal Faces user. What would you say is your favorite feature that we have, and also do you want to just talk about how it's benefited your business in terms of the runnings of it and everything?
Yeah, so for me, the benefit of it is definitely the consent area. 100%. I use that for every single client. Obviously, it saves me a lot of time because I have an admin team behind me. So someone books an appointment with me. I don't actually use the booking service on Faces, but only because only because I've used another app for the whole duration of my time in aesthetics.
We're gonna stop that. We're gonna move over to Faces. Do that.
But the consent side of it. So someone would book an appointment with me. My admin team would send the consent forms back. So basically, everything's done prior to the appointment, which I love, and obviously everything's stored. And they can go back into it and have a look at it. And so when people arrive at the appointment, we've saved a lot of time. Yeah. So we're not doing paperwork. I still always go through the consent forms.
Yeah, as you should. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, obviously, you can take photographs, you can upload everything. It's a very benefit. But also, obviously, I use the shop, all the pharmacy and the shop. I use all the features really. But that's also very good. Very effective service. Obviously, I can go on there today, look at what I've got next week, and do all my orders through it, and then they're here the next day. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you can just do it straight from your phone. You're not having to. Speak to some people who don't yet use our pharmacy and prescription service, and they're like, okay, so I go onto Faces, I download the consent form, then I WhatsApp my prescriber, then I have to go onto some pharmacy's website and upload it. That I'm like, oh my God, this is so long-winded. Just do it straight through your app. And that's the point. Everything on Faces has a purpose, and that's, I think, a lot of people feel maybe quite overwhelmed with how much we've got on there, particularly because it's a free app. But every single thing has purpose, so there's a reason why we have it on there. So, for example, I know at the beginning of this chat we talked about how treatments can be very expensive. We have the pay later option on there so that your clients can split the cost of their treatments. It's all just there to make your life as a practitioner.
I do use that as well.
Yeah. Do you find that your clients will spend more money when they're using that?
So again, like, don't shoot me down for this, but the options there, like, people can do that if they wish. Like, everybody's obviously financial background's different, but like, for me, like, it's not something that I would encourage. But the options there, like, I don't promote finance, but the options there, like, people know the options there if they need it, because, like, everyone's different. Like, I understand that, I'm not blind to that, but for me, it's not something that I would promote, because I wouldn't see it as for me, like, if I was going for a treatment and I couldn't. No, actually, I'll stop. That's fine. I wouldn't. It's not. I don't ever promote getting into debt for anything.
No, of course, and that's the thing. It's just as an option.
The option is there.
Exactly. And I think payment options are so normalised these days that you can pay in 3 or pay in installments.
Absolutely. No, they are.
And I think when it comes
to a way of life.
That's it is. Everything's just installments, isn't it? But I think when it comes to aesthetic treatments, I think it's so great that people who don't necessarily have the money there and then can still have their treatments to make them feel and look good. And I think that is a great thing that the option's there. But anyway, we've digressed on to pay later, so let's move on to something else. So obviously we've talked a little bit about regulation, but ever so slightly. We don't know what's going to be happening. We don't know what is actually coming into play. But what we do know is that the government have released the traffic light system and, putting feelers out basically as to, what potentially could be coming in. So what are your personal views on that?
I definitely think regulation is needed. However, I have had my say, like everyone should. I believe that everyone should have their say, because I think it should be good practice, bad practice, more so than medic, non-medic. And the reason I say that is because, so for someone like me, so I probably, in the scheme of regulation, I wouldn't be classed as a medic.
Yes.
Because I'm not a nurse or a doctor. Well, and also, like, when they say medic, does that mean a doctor, or does that mean anybody with a healthcare or health degree? So for someone, if you look at someone like me, I have a degree in health science. I also have a level 4 and 5 in anatomy and physiology. I have a degree, or it's actually a level 7 in healthcare management, and a level 7 in finance. So I feel like my knowledge, I've got a lot of knowledge, but in the regulations, I feel like they should look at everyone individually, more so than actually, if you're not a doctor, then you can't do this. I don't think they are. And being really honest, the lady that does all of my treatments is actually a beauty therapist. And I think I back her. I back them, because for me, aesthetics is an art. Like, when I was doing, so basically, in my health degree, I basically trained the same way that a nurse would train. And at not one point through that did we cover what I've covered in aesthetics, because we're doing things like, catheterization. Like, it's a completely different thing. Like, they're not even remotely the same. I have a lot of my nurse friends come in for treatments, and they wouldn't have a clue. Like, they're open and honest. They just say, like, they wouldn't know. And I go to the lady that does mine, and honestly, her knowledge is insane. She's really, really, really on everything. Like, she knows every artery, every vein, everything about everything. Like, she's so intelligent, but doesn't have a degree in health. And I think the other thing is, like, so the last time I seen her, she was like, well, maybe I'll go and do my nurse training. And I was like, but you're doing nurse training for the wrong reasons. And I think I think that a lot of practitioners will think, actually, I'll just go and do my nurse training. And then obviously the NHS is already on its knees.
I know.
So then for
I know.
an influx of 10,000 practitioners that don't even want to be nurses to take all of those spaces, like it's just going to create. I think if they're going to do something like that, I think maybe it should be a regulated qualification for every practitioner. Yeah. So maybe it is like an aesthetic practitioner degree. I don't know, like what that would look like.
The off-qual level 7 is kind of that, really. It's, you know, it's a degree level.
I'm currently doing my level 7, and again, like I felt like I don't really need to do it because I already feel like I've got enough qualifications behind me. But actually, like, it's best practice. It's good to have the knowledge. But now, like, would that even be needed? Like, I think, again, like, I would say to people, don't rush into things unless you're doing it for yourself and you want the knowledge and you want the credibility. I don't think you should do it because of the regulations coming in. I think you should do it for yourself.
Yeah, and we don't even know yet if that's going to be a mandatory qualification. You know, I think a lot of people, like maybe a year ago, were like, oh my God, level 7, spent like 10 grand on the course. And then it's like, well, yeah, they will have gained a lot of knowledge and experience and a lot from that. But we don't know if it's going to be mandatory. But I completely agree with what you said in terms of, you know, the good and bad practice rather medic and non-medic, because just because somebody is a doctor doesn't mean that they are that they are doing everything correctly when it comes to aesthetics. And also, personally, I would rather go to a beautician with 10 years experience in aesthetics than a midwife who's just trained in aesthetics.
Absolutely.
That's my view on it. And I think
that's exactly mine, because obviously, so like when I first started out in the industry, like, you know, you go on the courses, you go on the training, like, so for me, like this is why I do the training I do as well, because when I finished my courses, and to be fair, my course was very in depth, but when I finished, I still was like, oh my God, I'm out on my own now, injecting dermal fillers into people, like, but I've been used to doing really random nursing tasks, right? And they have nothing to do with dermal fillers. So like, I cross-linked it thinking, I was oblivious to it at the beginning. I was like cross-linking, thinking, I love it all myself. I'm going to go and do that training because, you know, I have some sort of knowledge. I had no knowledge. The degree I'd done compared to the training I'd done for aesthetics, they're not even comparable. Like, it's crazy. And I think that needs to be taken into account in the process. Obviously, I've had my say. I recommend everybody does, but I do think regulations are needed, definitely needed, because, and I think more for like health and safety and hygiene. Like I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. Someone yesterday, I was speaking to them, and there was on one of these chats actually, and she was saying how she a friend of hers had gone to, like, it was like a Botox and filler party, essentially, like just someone in the living room, like, injecting people, and apparently they were using the same needle on every person.
See, that's
why we need regulation.
That is why we need regulations. But how far do the regulations exist? So even like someone said, we said I'm doing a level 7. That's just me personally. But I've actually, my clinic is like, it's on the side. Basically, it's not in my house. It's on the side of my house. It's a proper clinic. And it's been built, but now I've kind of, I think, regulations coming. So I actually am just opening a premises. I'm in the process of opening the premises at the moment, just so it's a specific location. It's clinically clean at all times. With running water in every room. Because, and obviously, like, to be fair, I have outgrown this now, and I think that's another thing where regulation needs to come in. I do think people should work at a regulated premises.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Personally, when I hear about people doing mobile, I'm like, how you're going to that person's house? They might have dogs running everywhere. Might be a really unsterile environment, and I mean, it's never going to be as sterile as a clinic situation anyway. I just think that in itself is not good. Like, that's not putting your time and your health in the best position at all.
I do think that's what's cool. That's what has, like, brought the regulations on as well. Like, there's a lot of, not the Cowboys is the wrong word, because it's not their fault. I feel like it's the training I think the training is where the regulations need to be. I think people need to have a formal qualification and then do their training, whether that be 2 or 3 weeks, however that looks, but a formal qualification that can take a year before. And then people also invest in invest in themselves and investing in the industry.
Yeah,
and then they've got the knowledge. So like it's a career path rather than actually I just need to earn some money, so I'm just going to go on like a 2-day course and get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also feel like you would feel like, for me, like, you know what, that the day I graduated, how good I felt about myself. Like, and I feel like actually then I'd go into an industry where I feel like actually I've got the knowledge, I've learned it, like I've gained that, and it's certified. And I feel like that would be the same in aesthetics. Like, you know, if there's an academy that takes someone through just their level 5, so they do their level 3, level 4 anatomy and physiology, and then go on to level 5. They do all that in like a year and a half, and then they do all their practical work, and then they do some like working with other practitioners. To gain knowledge, and at the end of that, then they graduate. And I feel like that would be a really good way of doing it.
You know what? You can do aesthetics at uni, but you just learn laser and fat dissolving. You don't actually learn Botox and dermal fillers. So you go 3 years at uni, $9,000 a year, and then you're still going to have to do your Botox and fillers after that.
It's crazy. The industry is crazy. Like,
I know, it's wild, but I love it, and I love how fast moving it is. I love the fact you say it's an inventive industry as well. Like, I'm so going to use that for like marketing purposes. But anyway, we're about to run out of time, Darryl. So thank you so much for chatting with me today. It's been amazing. Such a great way to start the day, that conversation. I feel very inspired. All right, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.